Welcome back, frothers, to the Wheatlow Brewery. And you can see behind me, I'm rewatching an excellent video by the malt miller all about Sureshot Brewery and their beer called Milson. This is part of their Brew With Us series where the malt miller go to various breweries, large and small, and go thoroughly through the whole equipment, the techniques, the ingredients and the recipe itself, and then produce all that information in a format suitable for us to try and homebrew these beers. So I was particularly interested in this brewery for two reasons. One is because Manchester in the northwest of England is only an hour up the road, which is where this brewery is based. And secondly, and rather embarrassingly, I haven't heard of this brewery, Sureshot, so that needs to be corrected immediately. And it looks absolutely amazing on the video. So the only answer is to shoot straight up to Manchester, find the brewery tap, try a pint of this beer, Milson, see if it's any good, and then come back. And then if we did like it, of course, we'll brew it here and try and do the recipe justice. So not only is this brewery in Manchester, but there are various other lovely little breweries, and well, some bigger ones, you know, like Track and Cloudwater, for example, that are really at the cutting edge of the craft brewery scene. And there seems to be a lot of sort of modern hazy type beers coming out of that area as well. So really excited. I need to persuade Roz that a night out visiting loads of small breweries in Manchester is exactly what she wants, but I'm sure she can be persuaded, and we'll go and check these out and we'll report back when we've frothed up. Ah, there you are, Roz. How about a nice night out in Manchester?
Oh, that sounds nice. Where are you thinking?
Well, some kind of luxury place, no doubt.
Going to eat?
There will be food, yeah.
Is this one of your brewery tours?
Well, I've got your guidebook of Manchester's pubs and breweries.
Charming.
So I think you might enjoy a nice night out. Visit a few breweries and taste a few beers. You know how you love that.
Go on then, as long as you take me out for a meal as well.
And how about we just go immediately?
I'll get my coat.
Super. So we jumped straight on a train. I could read my book about the breweries, and we found the brewery under these railway arches and quite near to Piccadilly railway station. And that's a bit of a view of the brewery. And as you walk into the tap room, which is in the next arch along, you'll see Milson himself in attendance here on the right. And it's a beautiful tap room. So here we are in the Sureshot tap room, and I've got myself a pint of Milson, so let's see what this is all about. It smells absolutely amazing. Wow. It's got an amazing soft mouthfeel, presumably from the oats, and really slick and smooth, and bursting with tropical fruit. A bit grapefruity as well, so a bit of nice bitterness. It's really smashable. It's quite a nice opaque colour. Yeah, I think this will be definitely one to brew. Only been on it a couple of minutes and it's just so smooth and easy to drink. Carbonation's not over the top, and you get a bitterness up front from the grapefruit rather than a lingering bitterness. So at the end of the taste, it kind of smooths away in a beautiful, smooth ending to the taste, but then you've got lingering fruit at the back of the tongue as well. So it's very drinkable beer, and there's some very nice looking ones on the board behind me. So I might have to drop on thirds so we can taste as many as possible. So this one's Tim the Human Jellyfish, and it's massive. Nelson Sauvin dry hop, and it's so wine-like. It's unbelievable. It's almost sour from it. Very interesting. To be honest, probably glad I've had a third of this.
I've tried it.
But it's good for tasting Nels. How's the Red Willow collaboration?
Very nice. Up to standard.
Good morning and welcome back to Wheatlow Brewery, and it's bright and early, 6 in the morning, and we're brewing after our successful trip to Manchester to see if it tasted nice and visit the brewery. We're going to brew the Sureshot Milson. I've got everything ready here, heating the water up to strike temperature now, and in this recipe we're using a sack of extra pale malt. They do use Simpsons or Crisp, but today I'm using Munson's. And then we've got flaked torrefied oats from Crisp, wheat malt from Simpsons, and then we've got a bit of chip malt and a bit of spelt malt. And the chip malt in particular is going to help with head retention, and that beer had some head retention. When we drank it in the bar, I could hardly get to the beer for the froth on top of the pint. It was way above the glass. It's all over my mouth like that, delicious froth everywhere. So surely the chip malt is a big contributor to that. So water profile, this is my first addition of minerals, and as you can see it's a big cupful compared to, for example, the Dortmund water profile we used the other day for one of the Oktoberfest beers was just literally nothing in the cup. Now, what we're aiming for here, and this water profile's come from Sureshot, is approximately calcium 168, sulfates 133, chlorides 203, bicarb a little bit at 40, no sodium, and 7 parts per million of magnesium. So we'll get as near to that as we can. As you can see, the balance between chlorides and sulfates is in favour of chlorides, which you'd expect with a hazy pale ale, but it isn't actually all that big at a ratio of 200 to 130. So this is another little bit of the Sureshot idea of making the hops have that little bit of bitterness to make the beer more drinkable, I think. So the sulfates are certainly there in decent quantity at 133 parts per million. So also we need to mash this at 68, so that's why I've just turned the strike water up a little bit after my recent slight error with this Sunday stroll. I want to make sure, because another thing that Sureshot said in the malt miller video was they didn't like to maul the mash about too much, so I would class trying to heat it up because it's too cold as mauling it, because that would involve heating it, which might add to the colour and disturbing it as well. So it'll be a shortish mash with of 35 minutes, and then we'll do quite a long sort of Vorlauf and Sparge, I think. So excited to make this beer and very excited to see it ready later on. So we'll get cracking, I think. This is the crisp, flaked, torrefied oats, including husk. And as you can see, it's got plenty of roughage in there, which is going to be good for keeping the flow through the mash later when we're sparging. Ship malt. And finally, 2 kilos of wheat malt. $35 ml lactic going in to try and get the pH down to 5.2. Hops for this Milson beer. We're using, for bittering hops at the beginning, Recao. And I've never used this hop before. It's a New Zealand hop. And so I was very interested to see what this was like. And when I opened the bag, I can smell them from about here. Really quite a strong aroma to them. The apricot, or possibly some peach, probably apricot. Bit of pininess, resininess, the 10.5% alpha acid as well, so they're a good bittering hop, but they've got a lot of qualities to them as well. Some people say there's some fig qualities to them. I'm quite sure whether I can get that on the nose or not, but it'd be very interesting to see how it pans out. So we've got a small addition at the start of the boil, 4.4 IBUs worth. And then we're doing a Whirlpool at 80 degrees at 6.4 IBUs. And then later on, we're using Mosaic, Citra and Galaxy for the dry hop. Mosaic in the larger part, but quite a large dry hop, 12 grams per litre. So very excited about these Recao hops. And so this beer is going to finish up with New Zealand hops, American hops and Australian hops for the Galaxy as well, so quite an interesting combination. So the first edition's already gone in. I'm going to get my Whirlpool edition ready now to put in later. We're just having a short boil on this, 35 minutes, and then we'll concentrate on the Whirlpool to get some of this amazing apricot and piney resinous flavour into the beer during that. Whirlpool hops then. 200 grams of Recao. Right, I've just finished putting the yeast in the Milson, and I'm going to set the temperature for 18 degrees, which is at the lower end of the saturated yeast spectrum for fermentation temperature, and then we'll probably bump it up to 20 later on. So it's tucked up now, we'll leave it to its business and come back when we know a bit more. And the other thing that I'm going to do is add some ALDC, alpha acetolactate decarboxylase, which is an enzyme that will help prevent any diacetyl. So I'm going to just add that in now, and hopefully that will prevent that particular problem. Right, it's time to dry hop the Sureshot Milson, and we've got quite a sizable dry hop here of over 10 grams a litre. So we've got Mosaic, we've got the most of, and this smells absolutely incredible, quite dank, not cat wee like that it sometimes can be. Pretty amazing. And then we've got Citra, which I've already measured out, and we've got Galaxy, an Australian hop. Brewers have mixed opinions about Galaxy because it used to change a lot and be a bit ephemeral in nature, but I believe they amalgamate all the crops now to try and get a more consistent performance, and this smells pretty good. So I'm going to stick that in, and then we'll do the usual. We'll purge it with CO2, put CO2 through the bottom of the beer, and tip it in from the top so no air gets in. I've also already dumped the cone 2 days in a row to get the yeast out, and the temperature's at 16 as per the Sureshot instructions. So I'll just finish measuring these out and then we'll crack on. So just trying to fill all the gaps in between the hop pellets with CO2. When you think it only needs a teaspoonful of air or oxygen to make a beer go off, we have to just stack the odds in our favour wherever we can. So now we've got, put this in the carbonation stone. Now what we're going to do here is just going to sort of half put it in a couple of times again to purge the oxygen out of there, and then ram it in, turn the pressure down. Don't want too much pressure really, and drain the pressure from the tank. So the lid doesn't burst off. And then we can, once we've turned that CO2 on, even if it is quite low pressure, it could cause the beer to fizz up, so we need to work quickly. Right, my camera just stopped following me there, so it missed me actually putting the hops in, but I got them in safely and bubbled some CO2 through to keep CO2 coming out the top to stop air going in, and then once I'd sealed it up again, give it a couple of whacks with the high pressure just to mix it all up. So now that I'll give that 24 hours, we'll rouse it again tomorrow, and then we'll leave it a further 24 hours, and then we'll cold crash it but still leave it on the hops, and then we'll start dumping the cone for a few days and then get it into keg. Right, the Milson's behind me and we're on day 2 of the dry hop, and so we're on about hour 40 of 48 hours. We've roused it 2, 3, 4 times probably with CO2 to mix those hops right up into the ale, and we did the 16 and we did the dry hop at 16 degrees, but last night we turned it down to 14, and we're going to rouse it now one more time, and then we're going to turn it down to cold crash because it's getting a lovely taste to it and a bit of hop burny as well. which is okay because it'll fade when it's at a reasonable level. So it's tasting very, very nice. It's exciting. We'll get this last bit done, cool it down, and then we can dump the cone a couple of times, then get it into kegs. All right, time to dump the cone from the Milson. We've dry hopped. We've had the dry hops in there for a good 2 days. So we've now reduced the temperature, and what we want to do is dump out these hops and any yeast as well that's in there. Get it out so that even though it's cold, we're not going to get a hot burn from leaving it on them. So sanitize this, and then isopropyl alcohol as well. Make sure we're absolutely bob on the sanitation. Still under pressure, so I'm just going to try and skillfully squirt it out rather than get the diaphragm valve out and connect everything up. I'm just going to gently try and get it out. If it goes everywhere, I'll put the diaphragm valve on next time. It's definitely a lumpy or thick, a lot of hot matter coming out. There we go. So that's a good couple of litres. And we'll let it settle again and do it again tomorrow. Possibly not quite so much. Now, it might look revolting, but the smell of cone dumped hops is absolutely unbelievable. It's like concentrated smell of the nicest bits of the beer. I think this one's going to be nice. Right, time to keg the Sureshot Milson. We've had it on cold crash for a few days, dumped the cone twice, got 4 litres of thick hoppy matter out of it, and I have sneaked a sample out of the tasting port, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm really excited about it, and now I've got to get it into keg without messing it up, and I haven't got enough kegs. They're all full, so I've had to invest in some new ones. So I've got these delivered from the malt miller the other day, Kegland ones, and I've had one of these before, and the reason that these are going to be good is because for the first time ever they're brand new rather than reconditioned. Kegs is one thing, but the other thing is that they are I've got a number of different corny kegs, and they do come in just slightly different sizes, and what I like about these is that they're just that touch thinner and taller, and this means that I'll be able to fit the 8 in the kegerator without having to absolutely sort of kick them in. They're just slightly different in the height, can you see? And slightly thinner. Must be perhaps a centimetre or so, and that just makes a crucial difference about getting 8 into my kegerator. So I'm going to unbox these 4, get them cleaned, and we'll start kegging. And the other thing is I want to be really careful, of course, with the oxygen ingress on these on this beer, because it's a hazy, hoppy beer with a big dry hop. Now, a lot of people say for homebrewers, the best way or the only way to make sure that you've got no oxygen in your keg is to fill it with sanitizer and then pump it all out with CO2. And I can't really argue with that, because that seems pretty definite to me. But when you fill in 6 or 7 kegs from one fermenter, that is quite a heavy usage of CO2, and it's quite a delay pumping it through a 3/8 line, all that amount of beer, and it's just too tedious for me. So my little method, which I've had success with, is that I fill the keg with CO2 at quite high pressure, and then I leave it for a while. And the theory being that the oxygen is lighter than CO2 and it'll be at the top of the keg, and I then just release the pressure like that. And what I'll do now is fill it again with CO2 and do the same again. So hopefully, because the pressure release valve is right at the top of the keg, then that will let all the air out and there'll only be CO2 in. That's my theory. And the other way, of course, is you just simply put CO2 in, leave the pressure valve open, and just let it just flow through for ages. That does take quite a while, and again, quite a lot of CO2. So that's my little coping mechanism for having purged kegs. Right, so this is one of my reconditioned ones. You can see it just struggles to get in. The sort of 7th and 8th, if I open the other door, you can see what's going on. But this one just flies in, even with that pipe in between and everything. So they're definitely going to be a useful addition and make the job a bit easier. And there they are, side by side. So we've got a kegerator where it's a pain getting all your kegs in. These Kegland ones that are a bit narrow might just be the answer. Right, so busy kegging the Sureshot Milson. First keg's on there, checking it by weight, and I've got my safety overflow valve that will stop it squirting everywhere when it gets full. Very excited about this beer. Oh, did you want to have a taste? Come on then, let's have a taste. Right, first thing to note then is it's got the frothing head that we saw in Manchester when we visited the brewery. Sticks around, it's lovely and frothy. It's got a lovely opaque colouring to it as well. Just absolutely delicious. Massive hoppy hit. Pineapple and things like that. It's got a touch of hop burniness about it. I'm not worried about that in this case because it's just there, and I can sort of tell it's there. Maybe if you gave it to someone, they wouldn't really be looking for it, but that will just ease off when it gets in the keg. So by the time it's had a week in the keg, I think it's going to be great. And then I think I might just can some as well. Very exciting. I'm sure you're just as excited as I am to taste this particular beer, and it's been in the keg now for about a week and a half, and let's see how it pours. Pouring with a beautiful orange colour, fully opaque with a stable haze, and it's got a thick, slightly off-white, frothing head that sticks around. And as you're pouring the beer, you can smell the beautiful hop aromas because they're so strong. And we've invested in a couple of beautiful Sureshot glasses because the beer always tastes nicer in the right glass. So we're going to ask James, who tasted the Keller beer last week, to help us get to the bottom of this beer, and I know that he likes this particular style as well. Alright, got my special t-shirt, and so this is a homemade clone attempt, if you like, at this beer, Sureshot Milson. It's a little brewery in Manchester near Piccadilly railway station, and also near to Track and Cloudwater, by the way, so it's worth a pilgrimage to. And the malt mill have done this recipe on one of their videos, and it looked amazing, so we've been up there to taste it in situ, and this is my attempt at making it. So we can taste this, and we can taste it against the real thing as well.
Well, it looks absolutely awesome.
It does look good, doesn't it?
This is very different to the last beer, but this looks epic, especially with it being backlit by the light over there. That is, that smells good too.
Do that for you then. When it's backlit, it looks particularly delicious. So you can smell it from here, can't
Yeah, you can. It's nice and cool too. Yeah, you can smell it. So.
Absolutely full, juicy, fruity. But a lot of these sort of they describe this as a pale ale rather than a sort of NEPA or what have you. But it really is that kind of a beer. And it's but some of them don't have much bitterness in, but this has got some bitterness in, which is, in my view, is better, more drinkable.
Too sweet. Yeah, absolutely.
So what can you smell on the aroma? Because it's all sorts of tropical fruit, isn't it? Like what would you say, peach. I don't taste it.
I'll be honest, Rich.
And grapefruity and
grapefruit.
citrus sort of stuff, and stone fruits and all that kind of thing. If somebody listed what the exact flavours were, I'd say, oh yeah, that's right, but picking them out is another matter.
Very difficult. We were talking about a hop a few weeks ago that I said it smelled like cat piss.
Yeah, Mosaic.
Mosaic, that's not in there, is it?
No.
No. I didn't think so.
Just pretty sure it's not. But
it doesn't smell like cat piss.
But
it smells delicious. Sorry.
The cat piss flavour of Mosaic, which is a real thing, is variable in terms of where you use it.
I mean, it's got like a 5%. Do you know what I mean? It's not a bad smell. Just I don't know how else to describe it.
But that was an all Mosaic beer that we did, didn't we?
That was,
wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in. Was it in Merlin?
It could have been Merlin. Yeah. Yeah. So this has got Rakow in, which is a New Zealand hop. It has got Mosaic in.
So there you go.
Citra and Galaxy.
I knew it's got 5%. Is it a very small amount of Mosaic?
No, it's an absolute ruck, but it's been used in the dry hop. So if you use it in the boil, I think that's when you get more. You might have that the wrong way around, but I think that's when I can't get any cat piss in this.
So to pick up on the right hop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. It doesn't. It's not a bad smell. It's the opposite. It's very, very tropical, extremely tropical.
And the mouthfeel is it is reasonably thick, but it's light and drinkable as well. So it goes, as I say, medium light mouthfeel.
Semi-pillowy.
Pardon?
Semi-pillowy.
Pillowy, definitely. Yeah, it's got the oats and stuff in it.
Over the top.
It's got oats, wheat, and chip malt and spelt in it. A bit of spelt as well.
It's ridiculous. That is very, very good.
It's really nice.
I understand why you want me to try that.
It's very Moorish, and it's 5.2ish, I think, percent, and it's just dangerous enough to get you, but just drinkable enough to entrap you.
Dar's picking me up.
Really? Means we better taste the real thing. So I think colour-wise, it should be in the same glass to compare it. But
Spot on, wasn't it?
yeah, I mean, one of the things that they said in the video was that Sureshot, they're really careful about not getting the beer darker. So anything that would make it darker, such as a long boil, they try and avoid. So we've tried to emulate that, and I think Stiffo's recipe is pretty bang on. The haze levels are pretty similar, aren't they, as well? I would say.
Looks identical to me. Try it.
Yeah, by all means.
like Aidan said last Saturday night, he was drinking 2.something%. So that'd be right.
Delicious.
It's water isn't coming out of the tap.
That's that is quite similar. That is surprisingly similar.
It is really similar, isn't it? I can just taste a slight difference in the aftertaste. And I'd say that this is just ever so slightly smoother somehow, isn't it? Maybe the carbonation's just slightly different. This is quite carbonated. Maybe we've gone a bit too carbonated.
Yeah, it is a slightly more carbonated. It doesn't make it, anyway, it just makes it slightly different. All of your beers, I don't know what it is you do to them, but they always taste like, they always have like full fat beers. whether you use more ingredients or something, but it's like a full.
Well, I think that is a real thing with homebrew, that they, I like the phrase full fat beers, because they, you'll often find that if you homebrew something, it's got more body or more sort of substance than the beer you're aiming at, and that's because we don't do things like centrifuge to get the yeast out and filtering and stuff like that. So you get a lot of more stuff staying in the beer, but this is a small brewery as well. I wouldn't have thought, I don't think they centrifuge them.
This also tastes, the quality's there definitely. It tastes like a quite thick beer. Yours tastes even thicker. They wouldn't have used centrifuges or anything like that. No. It doesn't taste like thin.
I just think it's an absolutely beautiful beer to start with from the brewery. The recipe's great.
When did you discover this one?
As soon as the Malt Miller video came out a few weeks ago, I was ashamed that I hadn't actually heard of the brewery.
No, I've never heard of it either. So that is a. Imagine if I had that on draft on the local pub.
In the Green Man, it's this is a. I mean, people have been going mad about beers like this, haven't they, since I think 2014, 15 when they started appearing from America and here, and that little area of Manchester, Cloudwater, Track, and now Sureshot is full bore this kind of beer, so we're lucky really. It's on our doorstep, isn't it?
One of the complaints I normally have with this type of beer is sometimes these tropical beers can have like a tang afterwards that, the smaller breweries, and that doesn't have it at all. It's dangerously drinkable.
Yeah, so I'm really pleased with my sort of attempt at it, but obviously the Malt Miller recipe was brilliant, so that's great. I'd say to you all, if you get a chance to brew this beer, have a go at it, and if you get a chance to go to Manchester, or if not, order some cans online, because it's a lovely little brewery. It's in one of those sort of railway arches near the railway station there, and absolutely delighted with how this has turned out.
It should be. Stunning. I'm trying to think of a pale ale you've done that's any better than this. I can't.
This is one. This is
made a few.
The Hazy James was nice, wasn't it? But I think this is even nicer.
How fresh is this?
It's quite fresh. It's been in the keg. Sorry, probably a week or two, something like that. And the canned one, I had it delivered probably a week ago, something like that. But it will be fresh. They're brewing it all the time.
Well, it's I can just tell your beers. It's one thing I have learned from coming to your brewery is how beers change so much week to week even.
Yeah, this is something I've learnt, that it's when people at craft breweries say drink fresh on the boxes and the labelling and stuff like that, it's a real thing, because these beers they're not pasteurised, they're not filtered, they're not usually centrifuged or anything, and you get actually when you first can a beer like this, it probably tastes a bit burny, hot burny, that kind of thing.
Right.
But that quickly fades within a week or so or two, and then it has like a peak period, and then it'll start to fade. The hops will start to fade, or other things will.
When's the peak period in your opinion?
Well,
For a beer like this, anyway.
I would say when it's been in its packaging for today is the peak.
Yeah,
It's a
it
perfect
definitely
day.
tastes like it.
Sort of 2 weeks in the packaging, and it's settled down. And I mean, I'm really pleased with the haze as well, because that is, I mean, how would you describe the haze? It's completely opaque, isn't it?
Apart
I
from the
can't see my
edges,
fingers
just
through.
apart from the edges there, it's, well, it's all opaque, but it's, yeah.
And that's the sort of thing in these kind of beers, is trying to get haze stability. But yeah, so just an absolutely smashable beer.
They're both impressive. The fact that's come out of a can as well, that's, I can't quite get my head around.
If you had paid whatever it is for a can like this, £5 or something, you'd be well pleased with that when you drank it, wouldn't you?
It's worth
And if you
£5,
bought
definitely.
a can of Bollingtons for £1,
Why would you buy a
you'd
can of
think you were being ripped off, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think the only thing that's different between the two is the carbonation.
Yeah, could
I
be
think
right.
that's it.
I mean, theoretically, it should be similar, because they've given the recipe out and the process, and we've stuck to some of the times, like 30-minute boil and things, and been careful about trying to match exactly what they've done.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, you've always got different kit and different altitude. Altitude makes a difference, believe it or not. Water boils at a different temperature according to what altitude you're at. So that can affect the extraction of bitterness in the hops and things like that, if you want to be very nitpicky. And obviously the kit and how long it takes to move it from one vessel to another, and the contact with the hops and all that sort of thing. So yeah, to get it this close is miraculous, really.
Well, I feel very privileged to be able to be here in Wheatlow Brewery and try this beer. You were very excited to tell me about this a few days ago. When you wanted to come here, I think Monday evening, I thought, that's unusual. I can understand why now. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers are very jealous. So I'm very honoured. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So we'll wrap that up now, and we'll go and try a few more. So that just leaves me to say, frothy ale. Cheers.
Cheers.
Shit, left the lens cap on.